They've got to bust me now. I'm on their property, and they didn't touch them.
Frustrated, Emery cranked it up a notch. He marched into the London police station and tried to file charges against himself. The police still wouldn't bite.
You want to leave a living legacy, get out and break those goddamn laws, because if you don't do it, they ain't going anywhere.
After 18 years of trying to change antiquated laws, Emery was getting fed up and hung up his activism hat for a while.
Well, adios.
Years later, he relocated to Vancouver with a humble goal: to start a hemp and marijuana revolution. Emery chose Vancouver because he'd read that it had the highest concentration of marijuana growers in North America. He'd decided to become their prince. For years now, Emery's shop on Hastings Street has been a shrine for the cannabis culture and a headquarters for the legalization movement.
Find the pollinator? Oh, that's neat. We used to call it like a washing machine for your weed.
It's a bookstore, a bong shop, and a smoking lounge. A place where smoking pot is not only allowed, it's encouraged. It's also the head office of Emery's low-budget media empire. His web TV channel, Pot TV.
Folks, you're watching Pot TV. I'm Jack Layton, leader of the New Democratic Party of Canada.
And his magazine, Cannabis Culture.
Hey, Cannabis Culture magazine, Mark speaking.
Cannabis Culture was the country's first legal glossy magazine devoted to marijuana. Today, Emery is the publisher and editor, his bride Jody, his co-editor.
Hold on a second. Hey, Jody, that Humboldt story's got to be done right now. He's all ready to lay it out.
All right. Can he work on a different article for now?
What's that? Okay, talk to you later. I just want you to say, yes, I'll get to it, and I'll have it done in the next couple hours. You've had that for about 5 days.
Well, yeah, but a lot of other things have happened.
Maybe,
in those
but if you could get
days.
to that now.
The magazine's manifesto vowed to campaign to legalize pot, and Emery's catchphrase, overgrow the government, became a battle cry of the movement.
Hey guys, make sure you check out the new issue of CC. It actually has his voter guide in it. Mark has broken it down state by state, district by district, who is the best person for representing the drug culture and the marijuana culture in the United States.
Emery's magazine appeared on newsstands throughout Canada and the U.S., and alongside the pot-positive political messages, it advertised Emery's other business, mail-order marijuana seeds. Selling marijuana seeds is technically illegal in Canada, but rarely enforced. The local police had other priorities, and at first turned a blind eye.
I mean, seeds were not something that you got all nudgy about.
Larry Campbell, the former mayor of Vancouver and a 12-year veteran of the RCMP drug squad, thought Emery wasn't worth the bother or expense.
If you charged somebody whether you had to grow them to find out whether it was sativa or whether it was hemp, from my point of view, it wasn't that big a deal.
Emery took full advantage of this attitude. By his account, the seed business generated gross sales of $15 million over an 11-year run.
I've always promised people, when you send me the money, you get the seeds, we pay our suppliers, and then whatever's left over, we use it to subvert the political system.
Emery certainly made no secret of it. He advertised, paid taxes, and courted media attention. Emery claims he gave away millions of dollars to support legalization efforts and kept only what he needed to live on.
The project worked perfectly. It still is right on target, accomplishing what it always had set out to do, which was make sure we had a lot of pot, thwart the DEA, thwart all the police systems around the world, have them running around, thousands of them chasing all this marijuana I was helping create, and ultimately to waste their effort. So that sooner or later they would simply give up, stop, and change the laws. The whole reason I set this thing up was not so I could pocket the money. It was so we could advance a worldwide organization that was determined to end this prohibition. Worked great.
What worked great was that it attracted loads of publicity. It began when the Wall Street Journal published a front-page story about Emery. Less than a month later, the Vancouver police raided the store and arrested him.
Every time I was in major American media, I would get raided within days or weeks. When I was in Rolling Stone magazine, I got raided 2 weeks later. And after the CNN show, I got raided a month later. I could do anything I want on the Canadian media, nothing would happen.
He's not going to hurt you! You should be so ashamed!
There were a series of charges within 6 months of the CNN show, all done by Vancouver local police, in my opinion, under the guidance and instructions of the Americans. They couldn't hurt him. The charges in Canada were too minor, and basically he pled guilty, paid a fine, and was back in business.
Emery's public profile only grew with each bust. He was charged and convicted in Canadian court, but only given small fines. So the Canadian police soon went back to ignoring his business activities.
So the Americans saw that they couldn't rely upon Canadian police to put Mark out of business. They weren't aggressive enough. They don't play hardball like the DEA plays. So I guess they decided at some point shortly thereafter, they would target Mark and they would take care of Mark themselves because they do know how to put someone out of business and they also know how to destroy lives.
Each culture has to have its heroes who obviously were willing to give their lives up for that movement. And dying might be inevitable. If I go to a U.S. prison for life, I'm certainly going to die in prison. In any case, I never worry about it. Okay, we'll bring it on. Okay, great.
To be honest, I think there's a bit of fear in him that he doesn't let show. I think he wants to believe and prepare himself for the worst eventual outcome.
Walking by going, what are they doing? It's a little nuts! All things I see going through the park. Oh my goodness.
It's cannabis and oil.
I heard.
1 ounce of THC, and we're going to see if it can penetrate the skin and kill all the cancerous cells or any precancerous cells.
Mark Emery is a Canadian, happily living in Vancouver. But the decision to investigate and charge him was made across the border. I was curious, why did Emery's marijuana seeds pose such a serious threat to America? So I headed to the Seattle office of the DEA and put the question to the man who headed the investigation.
What we started seeing was these indoor grow operations that are popping up all over the United States, traced right back to Mark Emery. Seeds may look to some as, oh, that's insignificant. Those seeds then go to an indoor grow operation, and then we see the negative consequences of people using that marijuana. Marijuana is a significant problem here in the United States. He did not care that his marijuana seeds resulted in the production of marijuana that wound up that would devastate families and communities in the United States.
That people are still sitting in prison for 20 years over marijuana seeds or something makes me want to freak out.
Doug Hyatt, an attorney based in Seattle, has defended hundreds of medical marijuana patients busted under U.S. laws and knows firsthand the DEA's hardline approach.
If Mr. Benson wants to talk about destroying families, then talk to me about my clients whose lives are destroyed because they're trying to use marijuana as medicine, and the government comes in and takes all of their belongings, takes their car, tries to forfeit it all, tries to prove them drug traffickers when they've got a doctor's recommendation